Hi, I'm Jackie Rabbit. Today I want to talk to you about how old is too old to transition? Is there such a thing? Let's go talk about it. But first, go give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Click the bell so you know when I post a new video. Let's go talk about age. Is there too old to transition? I don't know. You probably know my opinion, but let's go talk about it. Come on with me. So, is there such a thing as too old to transition? I'm going to answer you right away, and I already know that I'm about to tell you, no, there is no age too old to transition. And I can give you some examples, and we're going to talk about it. And the only reason I bring this up is I get asked this quite often. And I always have the same answer. You're never too old to be you. You're never too old to transition. It is simply up to you to decide whether transition is right for you or not. Age really isn't that big of a factor, at least not as much as you might think. So let's talk more about it. Now, I'm going to go way back. When I was young, in my very first job, I worked at Radio Shack. And in the course of working for Radio Shack, oddly enough, in the 80s, believe it or not, I worked with a trans woman there in the store. And it did kind of open my eyes to the possibilities of transition, because prior to that, I didn't realize one could actually physically and hormonally transition. And I had no idea, So after talking with this person a lot, I realized my life could be different. And I just at that time lacked the courage. So sometimes later in life is where we find our courage. And if that's the case for you, I don't want you to worry physically about whether or not your body will be capable to do what you want it to for your transition. Now, one of the things that older women share in common with older trans women is age. An older woman has very similar features to an older trans woman for the reasons of less hormones in their body, for the reasons of less subcutaneous fat, providing most of the features that are predominantly attributed to the shape of a woman, whether it's in the face or the body. So older trans women actually have a little bit of a step up or a leg up on the competition, because they're already starting from that age, and the appropriate shapes for a woman of that age actually are very achievable for a trans woman in a similar age bracket. So if you're 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 90, it actually sometimes is easier to transition inside that age range for a number of reasons. And it's that lack of subcutaneous fat and the lowering of hormones in the female body that actually help one achieve a very reliably good transition outcome for that age. So I'm going to immediately tell you, some older trans women transition so well, it is really surprising. And it has to do with the appropriate age range that they are transitioning into at that time of their life. So I don't want any of you who are older, whether you're 60, 65, 70, or beyond, to think for some reason that transition is outside of your reach because of your age. Actually, it may be helping you quite a bit more than you realize. The female voice, as women get older, gets lower. For me, being 50, my voice falls really quite well into the older female category, and it's quite normal for a girl my age, 50 years old, to have a voice kind of similar to the one I actually have now. So it works just fine. And as a woman gets older, that voice does change more, and a lower voice is very normal for an older woman. So that actually helps the older trans woman. Facial hair, let's face it, females get facial hair as they get older. There's a reason for hair growth. It's hormonal, driven by the endocrine system. There are some reasons that a female will get some hair, whether it's the end of one's cycle and they're going into menopause. There is a change hormonally where they do develop some facial hair. And there's plenty of old grandma hairs needing removal at the electrologist, as much as there are trans women who are going through the process of transition and need to go to the electrologist. So at some point, and I've noticed because I'm very deep into, I think, the third year of electrolysis, I'm pretty much close to done, and the little odd stray hairs I do have land me so firmly in my age bracket that it's completely normal, although I do have the rest of the year to make more improvements, so I will. And women my age often do go to the electrologist for that reason. Under the neck, around the lip, it's very, very common, so not unheard of. And in the upper age ranges, 60, 70, and beyond, gray is going to be, or white for that matter, is going to be the predominant facial hair color. Well, let's face it, you can't see white or clear facial hair. It just turns invisible. A really close shave often is so invisible that there's no shadow, there's no telltale sign of beard growth. So again, that actually helps the older trans woman blend into the general populace quite well. In fact, much better than women my age bracket most of the time. And it's something that I often have to reinforce for the older woman who says, hey, Jackie, I'm 70 and I'm worried about transitioning because of these things. And I have to remind her, hey, you're going to do just fine. If you look at women your age, you really have only a short way to go in your transition to achieve your age bracket. So it's really never too late. You're never too old to transition, and for a variety of reasons that really help out the older lady in transition. So if this is something you're concerned about, I want to kind of take away the concern for you. If you're 60, 65, 70 or older, and you're really concerned about not fitting in with the female populace, I have news for you. You probably are going to find it rather easy in your transitional period because you have certain things working for your advantage already. The female voice in that age range is going to be easier for you to achieve, and you might already be there and you don't realize it. Facial hair isn't as difficult because of the lack of pigment in the facial hair. White and gray facial hair blends so much easier that while you're going through the process of electrolysis, what you will have will be nearly invisible. The facial features and body features from subcutaneous fat from the female form isn't as developed as it was when that woman was much younger. So the physical features that you need to achieve may not need to go anywhere. The small amount that we often do, and I've received a small benefit from hormones, going through HRT when we are older does remarkably well because the distance we need to travel in that change of our physical shape is so much less than it would be in our 20s or our 30s. So that is actually quite an advantage for the older trans lady. And to top it off, I hate just attributing age and wisdom together, but there is quite a bit of that that's true. Once we get through a good portion of our life, we realize there's so much more to living and to life than just the pursuits of the things that we believe bring us happiness. We come to the realization that people and friends and family connections are very important. We become more generous with our time quite often. We become softer in our temperament. There's a great number of reasons that being older sometimes is a better time for us to transition. We have come to a place where we can accept who we are, and it's easier for us to be able to blend into the world because we've gone past the kind of harder part of our lives where maybe we were a little more revved up, being older has some advantages. We do think about things a little more before we just jump in physically, right? It's a big difference. And I think if you really weigh the pros and the cons of this, you might find that the older trans woman has a small advantage over some of us. And that's a good thing for you girls who are in that older age bracket. So the one thing I know that's going to come up, and I know girls who have this very thing, and the trans women I worked with in Radio Shack back in the 80s opened my eyes to this one physical aspect that seems to be a very large stumbling block for most older trans women. So I want to tell you about this girl I knew back when I was a teenager who showed me this wasn't a problem, and in fact was very female. So, hair. Hair can be an issue if you don't have as much as you wish you did. Now, I'm quite lucky. I was able to have FFS where they lowered my hairline, and it really did a wonderful job of bringing that hairline really where I need it to be. Very female. I had a full head of hair, so, I'm very fortunate. Not all girls are. And if you have a receding hairline or kind of a lack of a hairline, that might cause you a lot of concern. But I don't want you to be concerned, and for this particular reason. Many females, genetically born females, wear wigs. There was a wig industry far before most of us were transitioning. We can look back 100 years, and the female wig industry was going strong, and it still is today. Many girls need wigs. They don't have the full head of hair or the hairline they want, and they're genetic female. And they achieve that with a wig. There are great options now. There are plenty of fantastic places that you can go online. You can go to the stylist. You can have your hair done. And it really looks quite nice. There are some that literally are glued to the scalp for a week at a time and flow naturally and look wonderful. And this girl at Radio Shack. So when I used to talk with her, she changed her hair so often. It was like, how much time do you spend on your hair? I mean, she always just looked great. She always looked fantastic. And it occurred to me that she must spend a ton of time. Now, I mean, what was I, 17, 18 years old? I didn't know what girls did. I honestly hadn't gotten involved in all of that. I didn't realize what it would take or not take. And then she said, oh, well, sweetie, it's really easy for me to do my hair. I put it on the wig form and I do my hair right there in front of me. And when I'm done, I put it on. And I was like, huh? I thought she was telling me a joke. She wasn't telling me a joke. It just was simpler for her to put her wig on the wig form in front of her on the table, do her hair, whatever she wanted to do to it, and then I believe she used tape or something like that, and it looked so natural and so perfect. I had no idea. Now it's back in the 80s. What they have now is even better. I had no idea. I just thought she put a ton of effort into her look and that she looked fantastic. And that is actually true. She did. It just was easier for her because she could take her hair off. Well, I can't do that, so my fried, the last 4 inches of my hair are just fried. When we started all this 3 years ago, I was using a hair straightener, and I used it every single day, and I used it on the high setting, and I just cooked that hair. It's done. It's like a frizzy squirrel. It's like feral. And when I put my hair in a ponytail, it's almost always in a ponytail. That back 4 inches is like a squirrel tail. It's so bad. I'll be glad when I get to go to the salon and get something done. A friend of mine and I are going to go at the same time and get our hair done when we can someday. So I'll definitely be glad when I can take a little length off and get back to the healthy hair that I'm enjoying up here. But it's this last little bit that's terrible. Now I can't take my hair off and do it. It's not stuck to me. So I don't have that advantage of being able to do my hair quite so easy. So that is actually, while it might seem to you, the older trans woman, to be a real stumbling block, I don't want that to be your stumbling block. There are fantastic options out there. It gives you the ability to actually choose your wig for the evening. Whatever you want to do, you can change your style on a whim. You can have all sorts of things going on. I can't do that. I'm always kind of stuck with what I got and the way that I know how to style it. But that's not true for your older girls who do need a wig. You can actually use that quite to your advantage. And they are very nice. I personally know several women that wear wigs and they look stunning. They always look really nice, and their hair is always much better than mine. So don't let that be the stumbling block for you. There are plenty of things available for the older trans women. I know that here in Northern California, all the same surgeries available to me were available to some of the girls I know. One of them is 70 years old, and she always tells me, oh, well, I'm late to the party. Yes and no. It's good that you got here. There's never a too late. There's never a too late. So don't let time or age stop you from being the person that you are. Simply do what you must, make a plan, and work it every single day, taking one step at a time. Just take things one day at a time. Now, if you want to go talk with some other trans women who might be older than me, who have lots of great advice and gave me advice as well, go over to transgenderpulse.com. You're going to find some fantastic women over there. The members and the moderators are fantastic, and there's plenty of them in my age bracket, your age bracket, and beyond. Don't hesitate to go have a good chat with them. Ask them the questions that I can't answer for you or didn't hit tonight. Also, help everybody out. Go down below and leave some comments about some of the things that you believe are an advantage for the older trans woman. Anything that you believe is an advantage, please put below so others can see it. And I'm curious too. What did I miss? Tell me all about it. Anyway, remember, it matters to me that you get through this. 2021 is going to be the year for you, right? This is it. It's time. This year has got to be better than last. And so far, so good. I'm very pleased with things the way they are going. Take care of yourself. Do what you need to do. Take things one day at a time. And remember, I care how this works for you. I care that you get through it. It's going to happen. Just give it the time it deserves. You will get there. I'll see you next time. Bye. I remember going back to work late at night to do inventory at Radio Shack when I was 17 years old. And my coworker, who was a trans woman, kept trying to work in the same area I was. And I was uncomfortable, not with her being who she was, but that she might figure out who I was. And after a couple inventories, she finally cornered me and said, either I smell bad or you just don't like me. And I said, oh no, it's nothing like that. Nothing like that. It's just a personal issue. And then she wanted to know why. And eventually she figured me out. And finally she came to me and she said, as she tapped me on the shoulder, I figured you out and you need to come clean. And if you don't, it's going to eat you alive. And you know what? She was totally right. She totally had me. She nailed me. And after that, I talked with her for a good 3 months to find out exactly what that possibility was. And she opened my eyes. She was so funny. I've never met somebody so powerful, so confident, and so wonderful. She really was a fantastic example for me. And I hope by sharing, you understand it's never too late. But I do remember when she came in one night and I kept pestering her to count the one area I didn't like. All of the resistors and little bitty components, because all the numbers were so difficult and you had to write them down by the exact value, and it took forever. And she said, that's fine, I'll do your section if you want me to, but you owe me a steak dinner.